Hello. Today we're going to talk about setting bold boundaries. And I've got four, one, two, three, four. I've got notes here. Four things that I want to go over, and then I've got about 5 action steps. So, yesterday we talked about releasing the fear. So, the next step, of course, is setting boundaries so that when you have something come up, you have a boundary in place that will help to protect yourself, so to speak. From the things that maybe fearful in your life. So first thing you need to do is you need to identify where those boundaries are. Where are you lacking in boundaries? Where do you feel like you need to set up sort of like a line in the sand of what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate? And that's tolerating in yourself as well as tolerating in others. So where are areas that you're feeling drained? Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe you've got a family with kids and your kids are old enough to maybe take over some of the chores, but you're still continuing to do them all. Maybe at work, you're allowing the boss or other co-workers to put more work on you than you can handle. And you're not setting boundaries for yourself and saying, no, I can't take that on right now. I've got other things I need to work on. Or maybe areas that you're feeling resentful, that you're being put on areas where work is putting too much on you and you're not setting a boundary and saying, no, this is not part of my job description. I don't mind doing it if it's something that you can do and you don't mind doing it, or if it's something that is beyond the scope of your work. There's all different kinds of incidences where this may come up, and you're feeling resentful because you're not setting boundaries for yourself and saying that that's not something that I'm going to tolerate. That's not something that I'm going to allow in my life. For me personally, I've set boundaries on my life with people around me. So people who are negative, people who constantly are complaining or nothing is right in their life. I've set boundaries with myself that either if they're family, I limit the time that I spend with them, or if they were friends or people acquaintances that I hung out with, I don't hang out with them anymore. I very much have set a boundary for myself in that I don't allow negativity that I can control into my life. So obviously there's a lot of negativity in the world and things that I can't control, but I can control who I'm around. I can control situations that I'm in. I can control situations that are around, people that are around me by limiting the amount of time that I spend in that situation or with those people. So what kind of boundaries are you putting in place, or can you put in place for yourself to allow yourself to have a better idea of what feels good to you and what doesn't? Initially, then this may be kind of difficult because you're not sure if it's something that you need to put a place in boundary or you just need to eliminate that particular thing. So let's say at work, if you know that there are particular jobs that you're not good at and those jobs are being put onto you and they're not part of your job description, maybe you need to talk to your boss and say, okay, this is not something that is in my wheelhouse. I am not comfortable doing it. I don't think I could do a good job, or whatever the case may be, and set a boundary and say, okay, these are the kind of things that I'm not going to do. Now, obviously with a business or with a job, that may be a little difficult and you need to word it in a more diplomatic way. But that said, you can still limit or eliminate the areas that overstep your boundaries. So number 2, defining limits. Get clear on what you will and will not tolerate. If you're not sure of what you will and will not tolerate, when you start feeling anxious or you start feeling upset or you start feeling resentful or hurt, you know that a boundary has been overstepped. You just have to figure out what that boundary is and how it plays a part in your life. Is it something that only happens occasionally, or maybe it only happens with one person? Maybe it's something that you can work on yourself so that you can gain more of a tolerance of that situation. You have to figure out if it's something that's with you and you need to change it, or if it's something with your environment, the people that you're around, and you need to figure out how you're going to define and make clear what those limits are, what you will and will not tolerate. And of course, with that comes the third thing: you need to communicate clearly. You need to be able to talk to the people in your world to be able to define what it is that you feel tolerant of and what you're not, what you're willing to let slide, what you're not. Getting clear on what those boundaries are. If you can't communicate those clearly enough, obviously you're not going to be able to explain to people what it is that you need put in place to be able to, feel comfortable. If you're not able to express your needs in a way that others can understand, then write out what it is that you need. Sometimes it's easier for you to write it out and then read it to somebody. I know for me, sometimes when I get flustered or I get upset or I get hurt or sad or angry, my brain just kind of goes fritz. It literally stops working. And I can't think of the things that I want to say. So if I make myself notes, even if it's bullet points, these are the things that are bothering me. I am feeling this way. I am struggling with. I am having an issue with. Make sure that you focus on you, not you're causing this issue or you're, blaming it on the other person, because when you get down to it, it really has nothing to do with the other person. It has to do with you, how you feel, what you understand, and how you're interpreting the situation or the people that you're around. If you can get clear with yourself what's going on with you, then it's easier for you to communicate with others when you feel upset by that particular thing or that situation. I know for me, it was a very difficult thing. I really struggled with this because I had a hard time expressing my feelings. I pushed them down for so long that, and feeling sad or feeling upset or whatever, those negative feelings I pushed down. I just kind of pretended like they weren't there. So bringing them up, of course, brought them up in excess. So I would get overly upset about something that really didn't warrant that expression. Now I have a better feeling, I have a better understanding, and now I'm able to communicate better that, okay, this is something that I'm not comfortable with. Maybe I'm misinterpreting, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let me tell you how I feel, and then tell me if I'm correctly interpreting the situation or not. And if I'm able to do that, then of course I'm able to set better boundaries for myself and say, okay, especially when it comes to, let's say, work. These are things that I don't like to do. I despise invoicing. I still need to do it. I know that Roy knows that that's something that I don't enjoy. So for him to be able to say, okay, Tammy, I need you to do the invoicing, it needs to get done today. The way that he says it makes a difference to me because it's not something that I enjoy. I know that it's something I need to do. So I've set a boundary for myself, knowing that, okay, even though this is not something that I enjoy doing, it's something that's necessary for our business. Of course, we need to get paid. But I've set a boundary for myself saying, okay, I need to get this stuff done regardless of whether I feel that I'm comfortable with it or not. I do know how to do it. I do know that I can take my time, get it finished, get it done, and have it done in a few hours. Where if I put it off, I'm procrastinating and feel even worse about myself for not getting it done. So I've set a boundary for myself in saying, okay, when this needs to get done, it needs to be done right away. So if I get a job, I invoice it right then. Otherwise, it doesn't get done. It gets put off. We don't get paid. We have to charge late fees. And it's ridiculous because it's all on me. So don't only concern yourself with setting boundaries for other people. Set boundaries for yourself. Setting boundaries for yourself allows you to be able to better manage boundaries set for other people around you. Then you need to go back and reassess and readjust. So like I said, for myself, with the invoices, I set myself a boundary. I know that I had been putting invoicing off. I hadn't set that hard, fast boundary of as soon as I get the information, I need to send that invoice. If I don't go back and reassess and adjust what I need to do, then those things are not going to get done. If I don't set myself a reminder that I need to do these things, then there's no way for me to change and to set it up in a way that's best for me. So when you're setting a boundary for somebody and you find that, okay, I've set this hard and fast boundary, it doesn't need to be that. Let me see, what can I use as an example? Let's say you've got So when you're setting a boundary for somebody else, and let's say you're setting a boundary for your kids, you need them to help you so that you're not so stressed out. You're doing some of the chores, they're helping you with the chores. And you set this huge list for them to do. Well, if you don't adjust that list and those boundaries that you need to have in place to have them help you, and you adjust them a little bit, the kids may not get them done and you're going to get more frustrated. So you need to go back and say, okay, look, I get that you guys can't do everything on this list that I asked you to, but you can at least do some of the things. So what are the things that you're going to do? How are you going to help out the family? Because this is a family dynamic. You've got to work together as a family, as a team. That's what a family is. It's not one person taking care of everything. It's the whole family contributing to the betterment of the family. So that doesn't only include your partner, that includes your children. That includes anybody else that's living with you or that's contributing to the welfare of the family. So when you set boundaries and you say, okay, I know that I have been putting everything on myself, or I've been putting everything onto someone else. Is that reasonable? Is it something that we can adjust so that we're sharing the chores, so that we're sharing the responsibilities of this family unit? Assessing, adjusting, changing things up, trying different things. These are how you're going to progress. When you're setting boundaries with yourself, whether it's at work or in your business or yourself, you've got to go back and reassess. You've got to go back and say, okay, this is not working. Nothing has changed. Or now I'm too restricted and things are not happening. Whatever it may be, go back and change up what you're doing. So 5 action steps that you can take are list areas where you feel like you're overextended or you're being taken advantage of. Set up a list for work, set up a list for home, set up a list for yourself, and then go through each one of those and say, okay, what is it that I'm feeling being taken advantage of? Or where am I feeling overextended? Where am I doing too much? Make that list and then go back and write a script for yourself for setting that boundary. I can't commit to that right now. I don't have the time for this right now. Let me think about it. Let me get back to you on that. Whatever it may be, write yourself out a script for when someone approaches you with that boundary, regarding that boundary that you've set. You have a retort. You have something that you can come back with and say, you know what, I'm not feeling comfortable doing that at the moment, or I'm already overextended. I can't take on any new projects, whatever that may be. Let me get back to you on that. I think I've already said that, but my point being, write out a script for yourself. And then practice saying no. No is a complete sentence. You don't need to add any explanation to it. You don't need to add any reasons. Just say no. If you're not feeling that it's something that you want to do or you want to commit to, then say no. That's all you need to say. End of story. And then number 4, observe the responses that you get and adjust as needed. So if you get a response that's combative or negative, then adjust your response so that the person that you're saying no to, or that you're saying, I can't commit to that right now, maybe you do need to give an explanation. Most of the time you shouldn't have to, but sometimes people don't understand why you're saying no. Sometimes they feel like it's them and you're fighting them, when in fact you're not. You're just honoring your boundary that you've set. They're not honoring it. You have to be more specific as to why your answer is what it is. So adjust whatever you need with that answer. And then number 5, reflect weekly. How has this impacted your energy? How has this impacted how you feel? What's going on with you? And how has it impacted your relationships, your work relationships, your home relationships? If you don't go back and reflect and think about, okay, how did this work out, or how did it not work out? What do I need to do differently? You don't have an idea of whether this is working or not, whether these boundaries that you're putting in place for yourself are not. So a very good book that we've actually read several times and actually need to go back and reread, and we've had our kids read, is called Boundaries. It's on Amazon. It's very easy to find, but it's a very good book for how to manage your boundaries, how to set them up, ideas of what boundaries may be. And it's an excellent book. So tomorrow we're going to talk about rediscovering your worth. Don't forget to do the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, subscribe if this is something that resonates with you. And don't forget, live life adventurously. It's the only way to live.